Today we're going to be talking about the two notes of a major diatonic scale. What does it mean? What is its function? And what is its non-obvious meaning and function? The two may be likened to the second book of the Bible, for it is an early exodus from the tonic. It is let go and loosed reluctantly. It's pursued over the Red Sea, but yet, like Moses, it is to die before reaching the promised land. The two is therefore the hardened heart of Pharaoh, an inevitable pursuance. One must understand there can be no proper exodus without a Pharaoh to have the exodus from, whose name, the Pharaoh of Exodus, his name is oddly Ramses II. Think of that. But theoretically, the two may first be understood as the fifth of the five of the key. So it already implies a kind of dominant function of the note, whether it be melodically or harmonically. But within the five chord, the two emphasizes the apparent equilibrium state of duality, because it automatically creates this dichotomy of the first note, the one and the two. The jump from the tonic to the major second is compared to the whole scale. If the whole scale be a macrocosm, which is not, there's ultimately one macrocosm, but say it's the macrocosm. The jump from 1 to 2 is a microcosm of the tonic dominant relationship. And we see that immediately just as these two notes. Within the five chord, the two emphasizes the apparent equilibrium state of duality. For the dominant and tonic root fifth dyads are intervallic equivalents. For example, we have the power chord G and D, a G power chord, or we have a C power chord, C and G. And this is the skeleton of tonal polarity, if not polarity as such. Yet the two, its subdominant role must not be understated, for within the two's own triad is the dormant four chord. The two's seventh is therefore the root of the key, if not the root of David. A D minor 7 chord, its seventh is C, which is the tonic. And the fifth of that dormant 4 chord within is that same root. So you see, in a D minor chord, if this is going to be our 2 minor chord, there's an F and an A in it. Add the C, FAC, you have the 4 chord. That's the dormant 4 chord. And this is where the two's relationship to the one becomes clear. The 2 chord, as the 4's relative minor, is therefore the feminine subdominant, as the 4 is a more masculine subdominant function. As the 2 in its dominant context is like the Pharaoh's hard heart, stabilizing the dominant, yet in its subdominant form is like the laughter of barren Sarah, the root of generations. As a ninth of the tonic chord, the D note is integrated as, for lack of a better word, utterly canonical within the scale. Relatively harmonious as an extension, and it's canonical in the way that Exodus is obviously canonical. The second book of the Bible, the second tone of the scale are obviously canonical. Think about it. You get further in a scale, there's more notes. They can have different intervallic leaps. There's a bunch of different scales, but everybody agrees on there's always going to be a tonic, and very often, most often, there's going to be a major second, canonical, just like the Exodus. And this 2 note D, again, if we're talking about a C scale, it is the 7th of the mediant 3 chord. So think E minor 7, D is that minor 7th. And it is shown to be parallel to the tonic intervallically in its own 7th chord. And this can be redundant to just say that every chord is parallel to every other chord. That can get very redundant, but it's worth bringing up until you've accepted that redundancy. And you can see as I say, the octave kind of phenomenon, the fractal phenomenon in music. And then that also always relates to, you can see the demonstration of the unity of being by that fractal nature. So obviously, any parallelism of these frequencies implies that the note is its own tonic, but within a different context. And this reveals a tonal multiverse, which in itself reveals the oneness of music, if not being. The note in itself is the awakening of consciousness, that man may know himself, if even from, at first, a primal level up. Even in the law of one, we could think second density, almost that transition of man from matter to animal. Now we're becoming human. But it's a lot about that animal consciousness, the consciousness right after matter. That's kind of what this 2 is all about. We could also relate this to our second chakra in our chakra system. But overall, as Israel remembers their God, the 2 remembers the 1. It's fundamental to compare the 2 note to the Exodus, because you'll see the way that the book of Exodus functions in the Bible. It's very analogous to the way the 2 note functions within a diatonic scale. Just some things to think about. I'm going to get back to work. I hope this helped you guys. If you have any recommendations of what you want me to talk about, leave them in the comments and I will jump on that.